Hello.
Hi, Jen. Good to see you.
Welcome to America's Heroes Group live stream digital media show. I am Jenn Wagman, founder, president, and host of the Generally Speaking Vets with Jen podcast and America's Heroes Group media partner. October is National Breast Cancer, Mental Health Disability, and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And today is October 30th. My guest panelist tonight is Dr. Julie Elledge. Dr. Julie Elledge is the founder of Mentor Agility, specializing in trauma-informed training and education. She has over 30 years of experience as a licensed therapist and 20 years as a coach. Dr. Julie is a leading figure in trauma-informed coaching. Mentor Agility, under her leadership, offers over 200 hours of credentialed training approved by the International Coaching Federation and the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. The company has been recognized for its innovative and impactful programs, including the Veterans Talking to Veterans Initiative and Thrive. Veterans Talking to Veterans trains veterans to be certified coaches who coach their peers and family members using storytelling techniques. This innovative program has earned Wyoming Veterans Commission the Abraham Lincoln Pillar of Excellence Innovative State Program and Suicide Protection Award from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And tonight, Dr. Elledge is going to touch upon a little bit of everything with us. I am so happy to be here with you tonight, and it's good to see you again after our first meeting in August. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Jen, for inviting me to be on your show. I'm honored.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, wonderful.
So tell us a little bit about what's been going on with you. You've been traveling the road. I think this is your first time probably home in a while. What's been going on?
Yes. Well, we've been traveling to different events for veterans all summer long. You know, summer is a perfect time for veterans to gather. So we've had the opportunity to go and present to many, many groups in Wyoming. We're also in Idaho, and we're expanding into other states as well. So we've been doing that groundwork, also visiting our coaches in different locations. So it's been a good summer.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit about what it is that your coaches do. Tell me about your program and the style that you work with. That's what intrigued me about you the most when we first spoke, and I'd love to hear, I'm sure the audience would love to hear a little bit more too.
Yeah, so coaching, first of all, coaching is focused on people's potential, mining their potential, their performance, their goal achievement. So our approach, trauma-informed approach, is a little bit unique. Oftentimes people think it's things like mindfulness and meditation and, you know, coaching out in nature, which are things that we do teach, but that's not really our main focus. Those are important tools in our toolbox. We really focus on helping clients get unstuck. So if you've had a traumatic experience, it's only natural that that is going to affect your ability to reach your goals or your potential. It kind of makes you feel stuck and you're not really realizing what you could be in life. And that's painful. So what we do is we focus on tools and techniques to help clients get unstuck. And one of our primary ways of doing that is through storytelling. And a lot of times people think, oh, you're going to ask me to tell my story. And we actually do not do that either. That's kind of a peer-to-peer approach in which you use your own story as a modality of working with people in recovery. What we do is we actually have storytelling techniques, which creates the psychological distance and people respond to the story. And in talking about this story, you can see the processing going on. They're now the things that are keeping them stuck, which, for example, you might have thoughts or feelings of shame or guilt, for example, that we don't want to let out. We want to hide those things. And so then we feel stuck because we don't know how to make meaning of those things. And that's a key component. Most people have post-traumatic growth. Some people, 20%, need to go on and have therapy. And that's a very different approach in the mental health map. Coaching is about helping people mine their potential. So by helping people process emotionally or thinking how that traumatic experience fits in with them, how that changes them, and how they adjust to that experience and really think about themselves differently, it opens up new pathways of growth. And that's why we have something called post-traumatic growth. So our storytelling techniques create that psychological distance so that they're able to process and put into place that traumatic experience and move forward in their lives.
So they'll tell you something that happened and then you're helping them by putting it into a story. Is this kind of like an exposure technique? How does that?
It's a great question. That's not what we do.
Okay.
but it is what people assume it is. We actually have different ways of telling them stories where we actually tell a story, but they are very specifically crafted so that they're talking about the story and you can see them processing by talking about the story.
Whose story is it though?
They're ancient. It depends on the technique that the coach is using. It may be a game, it may be ancient stories, things like that. There are third-party stories that they are telling.
Okay.
It sounds strange.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you're going to tell me a story and that's going to help me move forward.
Does it involve their trauma at all? Does it involve, have you shared that at all? I'm curious, how are they sharing theirs?
Well, so the mind will take care of itself if it's given the opportunity to.
Okay.
So what needs to come out will come out.
Okay.
They may share part of themselves, but they may not need to tell their story in order to process it and put it into place. But we do reveal parts of ourselves. But because it is the active choice, it's a conscious choice what somebody is saying or sharing or doing, whether it's in a group or individually. It's an active choice, so their mind can take care of themselves. So we don't have any triggering that goes on. If I say, "Oh my gosh, what happened to you?" that can put somebody back into that moment where they're actually re-experiencing it. And what our methods do is it allows them to decide what they want to share. So I was listening to Dr. Matthew Miller before I came on, and I was listening to him talk about the importance of talking really directly with someone. And I wanted to share with you too that Dr. Pennybaker talks about the importance of, like, if you hide a secret, that secret then can result. He has the research to show that hiding a secret means that people have a higher likelihood of having physical and emotional problems. And so the storytelling creates a psychological safety that nobody's going to be intrusive with them, and that they can decide what they feel comfortable sharing as it comes up. And there's just nothing threatening about a fictional story. And so in talking about that story, they're able to find the meaning that they need.
Okay. And how many sessions does one go through is it with you? And how does this work? Is this across the country? Do they reach out to you?
So we train veterans and family members to work with veterans and family members.
Okay.
So the strategy between training veterans and family members is really specific. A lot of times, even as a mental health professional, I am a therapist, have been a trauma-informed therapist for over 30 years. And if even the most well-intentioned therapist is not necessarily, first of all, trauma-informed, that's something that the client needs to make sure, are you trauma-informed? But second of all, the understanding of, I've been there, you and I may not have the same experience, but you've been there. You know what my experience is. That's a really important piece. So if you empower a veteran with the tool set of being able to help have that conversation, it's so powerful to them. And honestly, most people don't need therapy if they've had a traumatic experience, but our mental health map is limited. So when we put something like this, coaching, it takes the pressure off of our limited and precious resources of therapists. And if you put a mirror in front of somebody that's broken, they're going to believe that they're broken. So the question is, have we defined the problem correctly? So the coaching, the trauma-informed coaching, by empowering coaches with a skill set that they can take back into their community, they are incredibly motivated. And because when they leave the military, they have mission, purpose, they know what they're doing. So we give them the tool set. And now they went into the military because they wanted to serve. Now we're empowering them with the tool set to be able to go out and help their own community. So Veterans Talking to Veterans puts coaches into the community. It's paid for by the Veterans Commission. They can do it on their own as well, but the Veterans Talking to Veterans is paid for by the Veterans Commission. They're given the tool set, they're given supervision. We continue to supervise them and give them resources and training. They do free group coaching in their community. A lot of them do individual coaching, but they can use that skill set any way they want. So beyond their commitment back to the Veterans Commission, they now have a knowledge-based resource that they can now charge for. So they get training. It helps improve the economic skill sets of veterans. Plus, there are resources that are really powerful. They can just be a thinking partner for them. It also connects them back into the community. They now feel connected with one another. So the way the Veterans Talking to Veterans program is run, you can come one time or you can come for years. There's usually a weekly meeting. But the coaches can take it beyond, and they may offer a closed coaching group. They may offer individual coaching. So there's a variety of ways that it can be implemented.
Now, I hear therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists saying they're not licensed, they're not trained. What I heard you say they're supervised, and so answer that and talk to the community about how that works. Because if you have people who could be suicidal, who have these thoughts, how do you guard against that? Because I know you and I know how important that is for you. So I want to make sure everyone is very clear that this is not something that's irresponsible or not thought of, because I know how important that is to you. So I want to make sure everyone else knows how carefully thought out this is.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Our program is dual credentialed by both the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching and the International Coaching Federation. And they have core competencies, just like a therapist has core competencies. At the completion of their program with us, I can't speak to that to all coaching, but I can speak to it of our program. They are certified. They have the choice to go on and be credentialed by the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaches and the International Coaching Federation. Once they are credentialed, they are held to that ethical standards that are very similar to those in the therapeutic community. They are different, though. And so if somebody has an ethical violation and they operate outside of scope of practice, they can be stripped of their credential. And we could strip somebody of their certification as well if they are not acting ethically. Now, how they keep in scope of practice is that they make referrals. We teach them how to make the referrals and to actually, it's more than just a referral. It's to empower that individual in how they engage with, say, the VA or a therapist or any kind of resource. Maybe it's financial well-being. So for example, as a therapist, I don't have any training about people's financial well-being, which is a source of suicide. One of the things we train our coaches is understanding and tools and techniques to help people through financial coaching and financial well-being coaching. So a coach in our method can get to the sources of why people become suicidal. They can go into the community and work in the community because we have slightly different scopes of practice. So we are able to work with our clients, set goals. Okay, now you're going to call the VA. You might get a no, or you may have to be delayed. How are you going to manage your emotions and your frustration? One of the pieces that's often missed between say somebody who's contacting the VA and the VA, this person who's contacting may be sick. They may be, and if you're sick and you're not at your best, it's very easy to dysregulate and get angry. And
that's what we talked about. That's what we shared when we met, is that sometimes there's that lack of understanding, that miscommunication, that misinterpretation, and having someone to operate in the middle and to be that person who's navigating, translating, and doing those things is what's needed, because not only is VA not designed to be a customer service only agency, they have work to do, and not everybody is trained in every single department for every single service that they provide. That's what we do. That's where you and I come in terms of providing those sorts of services. You and I talk, and then we work with our clients to do that. And ideally, we're the ones who understand what VA does, and we understand what those services and programs and things that are already in existence that can be provided, and it doesn't take away from, because it's not always that easy. And when people aren't at their best, when they don't feel well, when they can't understand, they don't hear the information the way that they need to. But it's for us to listen to, and us to explain and be empathetic and provide that kind of what they need, because they do deserve that. And it is not that that VA doesn't want to provide it. It's not, but that's the way it's perceived. And that's the problem right now.
Well, and this is a human problem. And as you have said, this is a solvable problem because it's a human
Absolutely.
problem. And so what coaching does is stimulate the creativity and the problem solving of the individual. So our coaches are taught to stay in their scope of practice and get people into the resources and how to research for themselves, and really to be a stopping point. So our company is called Mentor Agility because your job as a mentor or as a coach is to drop in and help stimulate that person to meet their needs, but ultimately to have the skill sets of being able to say, for example, keep calm. Keeping calm makes you smarter. So how are you going to manage those feelings? This is where things like deep breathing and meditation and those kinds of practices really come into play, is keeping your calm and focus.
Hey guys, when I met her, by the way, this was all advice that was being given to me about keeping calm, breathing exercises. It wasn't necessarily in the scope of this, but there's a reason I like her so much. She's smart, yeah.
Well, we have such common desire to make a difference. And, we use a lot of storytelling kinds of language. And I think that in this case, a trickster is a really good one, because a trickster, it's like Peter Pan's the trickster, for example. A trickster, a coyote, for example, in Native American lore. A trickster is not good or bad. They're marked by the fact that they don't really grow. They're always the same, but they're spotlighting a system that is not changing. And right now, it's very, when systems become big and powerful and they have a lot on their plate, it's hard to make the adjustments to serve the people. The VA exists to serve the people. And as the people, our needs change, the system has to change to serve the people, not change the people to serve the system. And so we're seeing a spotlight right now on the VA. The VA is making tremendous changes to try to accommodate to the needs of the people. So we need to remain aware of these systems like the VA exist to serve people.
That's right.
Not the other way around.
And we need to make that's part of what I want to be doing with this show and with Gen Vets as an organization is I want my clients, I want people to understand that VA is actually making this effort. And yesterday, Secretary McDonough came out and announced it is a new VA. He wants people to understand that. Deputy Secretary also wants that to be Tanya Bradshaw, an amazing leader, an amazing woman who I would love to see be the next Secretary of VA because she's just brilliant. And it would be lovely to see a woman secretary, not because actually just because she's a woman, because she deserves it and she's smart and she has the experience to do it. And we'd be lucky to have her.
There's another trickster in this going on in the world right now, and it is a cognitive distortion that has taken root in our society. We need the pendulum to swing, and that's the culture of making people their bad acts, not allowing them to make amends and change and adjust and adapt.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so if we make people their bad acts, nothing can change.
Right.
So that's Ellis. That's Ellis and Beck tell us that's a cognitive distortion.
Be willing to accept that the effort is being made. They're trying to come to the veterans, not make them come to. And I said it yet 10 years ago, I would have been the first one saying, VA does suck. It does. But I'm watching the change and I'm actually trying to give it a chance with them. And I'll be the first one to call them out. I really will. I'll be the first one. And there are things that need to change. But in this area, I believe what I see. And I want people to, especially when it comes to mental health, this is so important.
This reminds me a little bit of couples counseling.
Yes.
Because when one
you and me? No,
right. No, it's the veterans and the VA. It's kind of like couples counseling. When somebody's making an effort, it's sometimes hard to see that because we're already locked in. You're going to disappoint me. We need to empower veterans and their families. We can't forget their families because their families serve too. So we need to empower the families and the veterans to see the changes that are being made and to also find the new path to get their needs met. The path is changing.
Well, as I keep saying to everyone, I have a big mouth. And if you're going to keep tuning in and you're going to keep listening, then you'll hear me say it. But again, I will be the one to point out when it isn't happening too. So write in, you can chat in every week and tell me when you don't see something so that I can bring that back too and send me emails. Go to the website for Gen Vets. Tell me what isn't working and I'll be happy to bring that back too. But I want to thank you for joining me tonight, Dr. Elledge. It was a pleasure talking with you as always, and I hope you'll come back. And thank you to everyone else for tuning into this episode, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate all the work you're doing. We got to continue this work together.
We do, because I dig you.
Me too.